From the network that brought you the Dro Bro Show and Remo's interviews, brings you the brand new Hot Tag with Grimex and Mr. Vicious. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? This is Mr. Vicious Remo Vinci, and we are back with another episode of the Hot Tag with my homeboy, my main man, Grimex. What's up, my brother?
How's it going? Back again at the Hot Tag.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Much anticipated.
Yeah, we kind of hinted at this in the Dro Bros show last night. We were throwing some wrestling references out there.
Yeah, I feel like we've had the itch. We've had the itch to talk some wrestling. So there's been a lot of stuff that's happened since we last talked. Before
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Before we get into these pay-per-views or PLEs that we had, I don't think we really had an opportunity to talk about the Wyatt Six, because they had since made their debut since we had had our last episode. You wanna talk about that just for a brief couple minutes before we get into our reviews?
So for those of you who don't know, they've got what in old wrestling they used to call vignettes. And they would put QR codes on the pay-per-views, on Raw, on SmackDown, I think even on NXT. And if you happen to scan one of those QR codes, it would take you to these vignettes building up to the storyline, which I introduced Remo to. And it was probably because I was looking up a lot of stuff with Bray, Bo, all of that stuff after his passing, that it came up in my stream, Dreadmare. That's the name of the channel. And they created a separate YouTube channel to promote this storyline prior to it actually taking place on live television, which honestly, phenomenal way of an introduction, phenomenal storytelling, and what a way to use social media to really promote something that you're not getting live TV time for. So,
and you know what? Just to jump in for a second right there, they're not really even talking about any of that either, bro. Like
no,
you have to kind of be on the inside and like knowing what's going on or knowing what to look for to have seen any of that stuff. Because I've actually looked for references to some of that in you know, the actual TV shows or whatever we get from actual WWE TV, and we don't get any of that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool, and I like what you're saying. How inventive it is to be using social media in the way that they have been for this particular storyline. It's pretty dope.
it is. It's very unique. And the only other person, well, couple people that really stand out to me, I mean, there's three, I guess, really. Sammy Guevara from AEW, he made a name for himself with a YouTube channel. But before him, who was the original internet champion, and we all know that Zack Ryder, who is now Matt Cardona, he does his own channel too, where he does figure reviews. But he was the first reigning internet champion, and the other one would be Xavier Woods with his Up Up Down Down channel, which is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, for all the gamers out there, you know, really cool stuff, really cool things that the wrestlers have been doing, taking it upon themselves for the most part to create some buzz and to create a whole new avenue for their character and their personas. You know, pretty cool stuff. So back to the Dreadmere stuff and how it's built up and what you have been anticipating for quite some time with the Wyatt Six debut. Were you satisfied with it?
I thought it was dope. And I mean, I mentioned this I think we did talk about it in the last episode, because I mentioned how through our phone conversation, you had mentioned that you felt it was kind of hokey, that it was like a cheap haunted house. But then I had addressed that I felt, so that's why I do think we did mentioned it, their debut, but that's it. We haven't really gotten to the storyline. But I was mentioning how I thought it was just insane how they show gorilla position when Drew McIntyre quits. Okay, so this is on live television. Him and Triple H and Adam Pearce, they're trying to stop Drew and saying it's a bad idea. That's live. So for that area to transition within an hour, and in an hour's time, you have production, they're working on the normal show. So that means they either had to work double time or they brought in extra people to slowly, piece by piece, change the set right before your eyes in front of a live audience on live TV to create this scenario for the end of Raw where the Wyatts debut and everything's busted up, the lights are flickering, you have wrestlers all bloodied on the ground and staff and crew. So, I mean, to me, and I've watched it a few times since. I can see where you're saying it does in some parts it is kind of hokey, but to me, it's just a masterpiece the way that they broke down the set and did this in front of everyone and no one noticed it. You know?
Yeah. Um, WWE's always been amazing at their production and their production value and all of that, can be easily seen and appreciated. And I think that this is just another example of that. Like they're a well-oiled machine over there and they know what the fuck they're doing. So it was pretty damn cool, man. I'm impressed with it. I'm excited to see what happens next. I know as we get into the reviews here, there was another piece from Bo Dallas, right? Didn't we
Yep.
see him towards the end of Raw?
2 of them.
So we'll get into that as we go. But
these are prequels to the Wyatt 6 debuting because
yeah.
they're video cassettes that are handed. They were addressed to Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee.
From I don't know. She's the witch character. She's Nikki Cross. I don't know if they're going the route of Sister Abigail or the witch yet, because those were 2 of the puppets in the braid thing. So I mean, that's still kind of up in the air with Alexa Bliss possibly being the 6th member since they're the Wyatt 6. I mean, who knows? But these Bray videos, or not Bray, the Bo Dallas videos, they're supposed to be a prequel to the debut. And my predictions for this are that we're probably not going to see any of the members, or at least all of the members, not competing probably until Bad Blood, which is still about 2 pay-per-views away, which is still kind of a long time. But I'm thinking because of the name of the pay-per-view and stuff, and with the rumors being that Roman might return at SummerSlam, I don't think they're going to give us the Wyatts in ring before and at the same time as Roman.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I wondered about that. I wondered how they were going to play this out because, obviously they have those 2 major storylines that both need some kind of resolution, fairly quickly. And I don't mean resolution per se with the Wyatts, but the next step, phase 2 or whatever.
The Wyatts are on Raw and the Bloodline storylines on SmackDown. So I like that each of their main roster shows has this compelling storyline underlying the show.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. WWE's been having some really good storytelling as of late. The past several years have been really good, and since Vince has gotten out of there, it's been even better. And I hear the morale is so much better. It just, you could feel it. The product just feels so much cleaner and easier to appreciate and to watch. There's all kinds of cool camera angles and different things they've been playing with and trying out, and all of that is pretty cool. I hear they're soon to be using some kind of like a ref camera angle, like how they did in WCW for a little while. I'm curious to see how it's going to work. I think obviously if they use it for specific shots, it could do a good job. But if you're using it as like a primary shot, I think you could get lost in the shuffle a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. I don't think any of that actually happens until the whole Netflix deal goes down, until all of that happens. So I think we're still a little ways away.
The end of the PG era, which thankful. Tired of not seeing WWE without the what they were known for. After ECW and WCW were consumed by WWE during the Attitude Era, I mean, it really was a time of tables, ladders, chairs. There was the blood, the barbed wire, the Hells in the Cells, things that made wrestling more innovating. Right now you have the Money in the Bank, so you have ladders and that, but I mean, there's still not a lot of blood, which to me, it makes the wrestling seem more cartoony when they don't have the blood, you know, and obviously it's controlled the way that they're doing the bloodletting, but it still makes it more vividly realistic, I should say. Visually
I hear what
realistic, not
you're saying.
vivid.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying because especially like there's certain like obvious things like you get busted in the head however many times with some kind of an object, you know, a normal person would bleed. So I get that. You know what I mean? There are things that make it more realistic and more obvious than others. So I do think that there is a place for it, but they don't need to be overly excessive with it. You know, in AEW, that's kind of one of the knocks there is that they just do blood for the sake of blood, and Moxley is known for just leaving blood wherever he goes anymore. You know, and that's kind of that's not the best way to be with it all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I seen it. The Wolfpack NWO. That's why I had to throw it up.
This is the one I brought up on that Drobro episode I told you I had, and I was trying to tell you guys to check the back. Remember that it had the NWO in the back?
Yeah, it
But
does.
it was the wrong damn shirt. You know, it was the Sting shirt instead. So I had to make sure I busted this one out so I could show y'all. But why don't we go ahead and get into some of these reviews here?
Yeah, let's start with Money in the Bank because that was the first one. Since we're doing the show now based around the pay-per-view schedule, so once a month, we definitely want to start here with the aftermath of the pay-per-view. And the way they listed it on here, though, is out of order on the results because I watched this live and this isn't how the order of it was. So it actually started with the men's Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and I was excited for it right off the bat because you know when the whole event starts off with the Money in the Bank match, you know that leaves it open for a potential cash in at the end of the night. You know what I mean? And obviously, since there's a men and a women's Money in the Bank match, you know, I figured one of them would start it off. So I was curious to see which one would start it because that's the one that to me would probably have the cash in. So for the men to show up, I think like the stars were aligned already with what was going to happen. Go ahead.
I feel like you already knew because I don't remember if it was on Raw or SmackDown. I think it was SmackDown because they all came out one last time. You know, obviously it's the last night before Money in the Bank. And Drew McIntyre declared, I'm going to win the Money in the Bank, and I'm walking out of Money in the Bank the WWE champion.
Yeah.
So by declaring that, that was kind of already a foreshadowing that one of the men was going to probably try to cash in by the end of the night.
Which is good storytelling. I like it. You know what I mean? It keeps you interested and it makes it more fun. So let's go. You want to break down the competitors, the guys that were in the match?
So the guys in the match were Drew McIntyre, Andrade, Carmelo Anthony, or Hayes, I mean.
Carmelo Hayes.
It's his first time. It was his first time in a major match since him being drafted to the main roster. And then you also had LA Knight, Jay Uso, and
Chad Gable.
Yeah. The freaking Kurt Angle.
So
I like his storyline.
I thought he might be the one to take it. He's the one that I honestly felt like the Drew one was a little too obvious. I felt like they were just kind of I thought they were teasing with the whole Drew stuff, and I thought the actual thing was going to be for Chad Gable. So, you know, the whole match, I was watching Gable to see what was going to happen and what he was going to do. But man, LA Knight and Jey Uso were the two crowd favorites, and those were the guys that I knew company-wise would want to be towards, you know, the top could potentially be that briefcase holder for the year. You know what I mean? So I knew it could be between them, but I was pulling for Chad Gable. And I didn't think it was going to be Drew. I thought that was a little too on the nose. So the way they pulled it off was pretty cool, man, because there were some really good spots. Andrade's a freaking beast. He kept doing stuff.
The front flip power bomb to Carmelo Hayes on the fucking ladder when they had the ladder on the rope and in between the ladder.
Yep.
Sick. So
Andrade
sick.
is amazing, bro. Like that dude. Now that he's back in the company, I really hope that they do some really cool shit with him. I know they're doing that whole speed thing on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I know he's the speed champion, but he deserves more than that, man. Give Andrade a better deal than that, please, because I know they're trying to build that shit up, but fuck that shit. He's beyond that, I think. Um,
Well, they haven't really done much with him other than him helping Ray out when
yeah,
Carlito first fucking betrayed him.
that's what I'm saying. He needs a good storyline. He needs something to sink his teeth into because he's that good and he's right in the middle of his prime right now. So, you know, they need to do something about it.
I thought LA was going to get it, honestly, dude. I thought this would be a good time because this is a unique storyline, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going for the heavyweight title like everyone else does. It's, I'm going to get that case and I'm coming for your United States championships, and to keep running away, you won't be able to hide from me. So I thought, wow, that was a unique storytelling right there.
Yeah.
That's a little different. I know they did it for the Intercontinental before. Wasn't it Seth Rollins who cashed in for the Intercontinental? I believe it was.
I don't remember, but I do know that whatever it was whack to me, bro. I think that to cash in on a secondary title is just stupid. I think it's just ridiculous. I understand trying to add prestige and whatnot, but bro, you don't always get a fucking title shot for anything. So why would you take anything less than the top spot?
Because he was the tag champion and then he got the Intercontinental, I believe, is what it was in the storyline. And of course, Roman was on his reign, and you knew no one was going to lose it because until they gave Seth that title, um, there was no other secondary title. And the only reason they brought it back is because everyone kept, the fans, I should say, everyone,
Yeah,
were saying that, you know, you got one guy holding up the title and you have all this great talent on the roster. So I think that is why they did that storyline. Like I said, because until they gave Seth the title, he won a
yeah,
tournament to gain the title. But until he held that title, there was no other secondary title for years already.
yeah. Yeah, I think they needed one for a while, but again, to use the money in the bank cash in for one of those belts, I think was whack. I'm glad that didn't happen. You know, just for my personal preference. But I honestly thought LA Knight might get it, bro. I thought he was the guy. I thought they were finally gonna pull the trigger for him. You know, I didn't think it would go to Uso, even though he was another one that was, like I said, a crowd favorite. I really thought LA Knight might get it. I was pulling for Gable, but I was happy with Drew.
I knew it wasn't going to Uso because of the bloodline story. Like
Yeah,
I've speculated before, I think maybe on the last one that I think there's going to be a bloodline, an old bloodline versus the new bloodline,
yeah.
basically.
The
Um,
Civil War. That's kind of seems to be the hot topic, you know.
so yeah, you can't hold up Jay Uso with a title run or any other storyline that is super relevant, because when this bloodline thing blows off, you're going to have to lose him for that storyline. So you really don't want him too involved in something else. I remember in the last one, that was my prediction. I said LA Knight, and that's where I thought this was going. But like you said, it was too on the nose, and Drew McIntyre won.
Yeah,
Uh,
Drew took it off, and
I don't,
I like how he used that how he used the ladder as like a dart and hit freaking who was it that he got? Who did he hit in the face? Was it fucking
Chad Gable, I
yeah,
thought.
Gable. Yeah, yeah, it was Gable he got in the face or whatever with it. I liked how they did that. That was cool. I liked the belly flop Gable did off of the freaking thing when he was holding on to
Yeah.
that was a cool bump. That was a nice visual.
I thought Uso was going to spear him from it, but he waited till he fell, remember? And then he ran into the ropes and hit him as he stood up.
Yeah.
But I want to get more into the other part of it once we get to that point. But this match, it was good. I don't want to say too much until we get to that point as well, either. But it was a good match. It was
Yeah,
a
I was
good way to start the night.
happy. I was
Um,
happy.
so the second match was Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn, you know, and I called Sami Zayn from the last one, was
I
my
think
pick.
I don't remember if I had to pick one way or the other, but I was picking Braun. I was picking Braun because I felt like they were gonna anoint him. You know what I mean? Like it was time. he was going to be the guy that finally gets it from Sammy. You know, I thought that that's how it was going to go. But I have not really seen a whole lot of Braun. I know of him and I've seen him, but I hadn't really seen him like during a match hardly at all. So I was excited about this match, bro, just because I was going to get a chance to really see him, you know, and see what he could do. And I was not disappointed, man. Like, this kid is a ball of fire, man. He's amazing. You could tell he's still kind of green. There's a few little areas, you know, where he's gonna grow into his own still. But man, he's raw talent, bro. He's Scott, he's Rick, he's all of that shit. Plus, he's himself all in one. He's a definite Steiner for sure, bro. And I
But
hope they let him use that name at some point because, you know, he's carrying that name pretty well. He does
this
a good
is,
job.
I feel like this is what Zayn needs for his run because, okay, look, I like Sami Zayn and I think he needed the title. You said he didn't when we were discussing if he was going to beat Gunter and all of that. And the reason why I like this because Sami Zayn, I feel like didn't ever get the push. That the closest thing he got to popularity was from the Bloodline storyline, right? That was like the most interesting Zayn had been. I mean, he's had little spots,
Long
but
time. In a long time at least. Because when
yeah,
he
but
first came in, he had some pretty decent fanfare when he first came in.
well, and as El Generico, he was sick in Ring of Honor. I like that, but that's where the chant comes from. You know that if for those of you who don't know, but Sami Zayn, I feel like yes, he defeated Gunter, he defeated all challengers so far, but what he needs for his storyline was this. Okay, he needed a beast, and not only the beast, but the beast that keeps coming. So, obviously, I knew Zayn was going to win this because of the spears he took prior to Money in the Bank. That they were going to set this up for
Go home.
Zayn to win. But
Okay.
on Raw, jumping ahead, I guess, because I'm sure you probably hadn't got to see this part of it. When Braun Breaker comes out, he's like, I know how this works. It's back to the line, basically, right? And he's like, so I'm not going to ask you for an Intercontinental Championship title shot. And basically, Zayn's like, well, I beat you and this and that. And Braun, he turns around as he's talking and he's saying, you know, but, and as he's turned around, freaking spears the shit out of Zayn. And he starts just beating the hell out of him. Because basically, what he's going to do is he's just going to beat him and beat him and beat him until he has no choice but to give him a rematch, right? Rather than asking. So that's the whole storyline they're doing there, which is why I think that's what his title reign really needed. For it to have sustenance, for him to have sustenance as a character, he needed this, you know,
Okay.
and Braun needs it too because Sami Zayn is putting him over. Yes, it's not happening yet, but he is going to put him over. So this is one of those symbiosis storylines that I feel both of these guys need each other to get the momentum they need for the storyline.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think I feel you on that, and I'm with you. I'm excited to see what happens next with the whole storyline there. We'll see what happens, but I do hope that it culminates with Braun ultimately going over and anointing him, you know, as the new young lion. I'm anxious to see that happen. But again, I appreciate a slow build. I'm not somebody that like tries to hurry and get to the end already, you know, because I appreciate the story itself. So I'm anxious for it, but I'm not in too much of a hurry. So
Because before this, if I'm being honest, I just felt like Braun was a two-dimensional character. And now that this storyline's breaking off, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why they were doing that because he needs that development in his character, and how what better way than to do it with a veteran like Sami Zayn and
yeah,
one
no,
that's had his ups and downs and he kind of knows what's going to work, what doesn't. It's that's very sick, very smart of WWE.
yeah, no doubt. I like it a lot.
So,
So go ahead.
you ready for the next match, or you still want to talk about this a little bit?
No,
On
I'm
the
good.
Frankensteiner, gotta say, he did a hell of a Frankensteiner.
Bro,
Fucking shout out to the Steiner brothers.
that dude, man, I'm telling you, the athleticism this kid freaking has is insane, man. He hopped up that shit like he was just walking on air, bro. You know what I mean? And did that Frankensteiner so quick. snap Frankensteiner off the top. Crazy, bro. Crazy.
So, but definitely Sammy, that was a good ass match. And for him to win, I was definitely like, damn. Because I was even questioning it, even though I knew Sammy was going to win, just because, like I said, the setup seemed like Sammy was going to win prior to Money in the Bank. I almost didn't think he was going to. I was like, fuck, how the hell is he going to outlast this beast? This dude's just demolishing him, tearing him apart. And he fucking sent it.
Really was. He was letting him have it for sure.
So next match was the El Campeon versus Mr. Monday Night, Seth freaking Rollins. And I agree with Remo. This match had the biggest botch of the night, and we got to discuss this. And there's few rumors out there, and the issue with this botch is that Damian Priest did not kick out when Seth Rollins pinned him. He didn't kick out, and you can watch the footage again. He does not kick out, and the ref chose to call at a 2 count. And people have speculated, one, that Damian Priest was waiting for Drew McIntyre's music to hit. There's other speculation that he was expecting something else to happen. That could have been the botch. People argue, though, that this was a heavyweight title match, not the match, especially with the type of talent that's involved. Should have had this type of botch. There was another rumor, which I think is more logical, and I explained this to you. And if you watch the footage, when Seth picks him up in the scoop slam position, he fucking knees Damian Priest in the head. So this one guy I was listening to said, that is one of the other alternatives, is that Damian Priest was really knocked out. And if you watch the footage again on the 2 count, his eyes are closed. And so he could potentially have had a concussion. And it was one of those situations that the ref tried to cover the botch, but because he covered the botch when you could clearly see he didn't kick out, it was a big deal.
No, I didn't see any footage back. I only saw it live as it happened, and that was the only time I seen it. So I knew right away somebody missed the cue somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, it was pretty obvious that there was somebody missed something. So Drew finally does come out, and he gets involved. It becomes a triple threat. Now, at this point, but before that, during the match, they both kept looking to the front. They both kept checking it out, just waiting to see. You know what I mean? Like, they were anticipating it. So there was still more of that story building. You know what I mean? More of that anticipation, knowing that something's gonna happen. Somebody will come out. So anyway.
So, like I said, Drew McIntyre declared it on SmackDown. So because of that, and he won, so obviously they know he's coming out. And I agree with you, it was story building. But something I noticed in this night, and I noticed it during the women's match, and I thought how crazy that's unique, and I'd never seen it at a live show. But did you notice that they have a freaking clock set to the match time in the background? You could see it in some of the shots, dude. And it's so then now they know their timing. They didn't used to have that before. And so I think that's cool, because then you're able, because before the ref used to have to tell you the time. If we're breaking kayfabe here, right? Like The Rock tells his story about when he tore his midsection fighting John Cena, and he asked the ref, how long in the match? He tells him you got like 25 more minutes, and he's like, fuck, and he's thinking, how am I going to get through this? So to see the clock in the background, it also makes me wonder about that as far as timing and everything goes.
I didn't see that, and to be honest with you, I think that's whack, bro. I think it's whack, because then if the crowd can see that, if people can actually see that shit.
So it's in one of those areas where it has, the railing, like where Rock beat the hell out of Mankind. He threw him off and he hit the speakers and he ends up on the concrete at that Royal Rumble when he's beating the hell out of him with the chair. Like an area like that. But on the top wall, where the audience can't see it because it's blocked by the barricade and everything, there's the clock. It's just the camera angle showed it, and it's actually in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match that I first seen it.
Okay.
Okay, that the only time I remember seeing it. So I don't know if they were meant to show it,
Yeah.
obviously, but seeing it, I thought about that when you're saying that they're also kept looking to the front. But I knew CM Punk was gonna fucking screw Drew McIntyre. I knew that was gonna be the case if Drew won because they're trying to keep the story relevant while CM Punk is injured.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they gotta do it somehow, right? And it reminds me of like Austin when he was hurt back in the day when he broke his neck. He was still involved. He was always there kicking somebody's ass or doing something. You know what I mean? So,
And
anyway,
then screwing Seth over because that's a big deal. Because remember, if Seth didn't win this match, he can't challenge for the title
yeah.
as
So it
long as
keeps the
Priest
story
is the
going
champ.
on.
Well, that builds the story arc for CM Punk and Rollins' feud for later on, which again, great storytelling. But and the layers. So I don't know if you saw Raw. The cool thing about it is that Damian Priest came out and basically told Rollins, "You don't have to ask me for a championship match. I'm telling you, if you want this title, I'm giving you a rematch." And so that is cool that still got to happen. No stipulations in place as of yet. Because remember, his stipulation was Damian Priest had to quit the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
But
I
I
did.
do
I
think that was a
didn't see
cool.
any of that. I didn't see any of that, so I wasn't aware of it, and I don't know how I feel about it. It's kind of strange. So we'll see how it plays out.
I think they were covering their ass from the backlash of people being pissed that why would you screw Seth Rollins. So probably to take some of the heat off of the Punk thing, they probably allowed this storyline to transpire.
And that's
I'm
whack too,
guessing.
I think, because that's good heat for the whole Punk situation. You know what I mean? Like, I like that. I think that that's a good thing. To keep people pissed off about that whole thing, because then it keeps that anticipation for that eventual locking up. That'll be a really good match, a good feud. That's the one they were originally going to go with anyway. So to see that one, we've already been anticipating it. Anyway, what do we got next after this one? Because obviously
The
Drew,
final match,
Drew
and it was
cashes in, Punk fucking screws it up. You know what I mean? And then here we are. That was a waste of a cash in kind of, but it was good storytelling. But now we're without the Money in the Bank for the whole year now. Now there's no suitcase holder. Now there's no threat of that looming over.
no, there is, and that's why it's even better. So the Triple H era, awesome. Since Triple H has been involved in creation, tag team came back, it got better. And now the women's division, where he set his sights on, where he's been rebuilding, which is fucking phenomenal. The women's division is sick for the first time since the Attitude Era. I feel that it's on par with women or the men's wrestling. But this match, this is what I wanted to say, other than the Drew thing, is this was the match of the night. I mean, this was so freaking phenomenal. The moves pulled off on it and everything. And I know you could agree. And me and
Well,
my brother-in-law Chad watched this together, and we both agreed that they sent it on this match.
so I agree 1,000%. This is easily the match of the night. But hold on though. This match grabbed you from the very fucking beginning of it because these women scared the shit out of everybody because
Yep.
their first few moves were not great. And they were scary looking and it had you say, "Oh shit," and you had to pay attention and watch. And ever since then, they had you hooked. And they did awesome, bro. Everybody hit amazing spots. Chelsea Green off the freaking ladder through the tables was amazing. That
Yeah.
was cool to see that bump. Io Sky was amazing. She kept doing dope shit the whole time. Let's go through the girls in the match first. Let's say who they all were, and then we'll get it more
So
into it.
you have Tiffany Stratton, who is one of the fan favorites to win. Okay. That her and
She's
Chelsea
the
Green, because both of them are, because this took place in Canada, wasn't it? And they're both Canadian.
yeah.
So these
I
two were the two fan.
Yeah, I don't know if Tiffany Stratton's Canadian, but I know Chelsea Green is.
Well, either way, they were both the fan favorites. This is who the fans were the most behind throughout the whole match. So, and then you had Zoe Stark, Io Sky, Naomi, and Lyra Valkyria, who's been fucking dominating in the last weeks, dude. She smashes everybody she wrestles. She just got drafted, to the main roster only like a month ago, I believe it was. But damn, dude, she has impressed me every match. She sends it for a new young talent. She's freaking awesome.
That's how I feel about Tiffany Stratton. This Lyra Valkyria, I haven't really seen her a whole lot, so this was like my first real good look at her, and she did okay, but I wasn't like wowed. I wasn't really overly wowed over anything that she did. You know what I mean? I think that she was fine. I think she did a good job. The one who did wow me a lot though in this match that I got a whole new respect for is Zoe Stark.
Yep.
Zoe Stark was really good in this match, bro. I felt like she had me a couple times where I was like rooting for her. I was hoping she got it. You know what I mean?
Naomi too. Dude, Naomi and her flexibility with some of the shit that happened on there, damn. You know what I mean?
Naomi, bro, her and fucking Natalia, bro, you could plug them in just about anywhere and they'll do a good job. You know what I mean?
How
Like,
did you not like Lyra Valkyria as a fucking German suplex while her fucking legs are in the ladder?
that was good.
Holy crap, dude.
That was good. Yeah, that was a great move. I'm telling you,
that's like how she wrestles.
The spots in this match were incredible, bro. So many of them. So many of them. Like they did not lose your attention for a second in this match.
No, this match was so sick, dude.
If you go, I recommend it to anyone. If you go back to watch one match from this card, that's the one you need to watch.
This one, yeah, and it's not the main event, but truth be told, Tiffany Stratton won. Obviously, she was the fan favorite, and I'm not disappointed. It was a great match. I think she's going to wait throughout the year to cash in. This is going to be a big storyline, which is why I brought up the development of the women's division through the Triple H era. Because last year we dealt with Damian Priest, and I felt like that shit was milked so long. I'm glad to see that this year we get to deal with a woman's wrestler that is going to be the constant threat, and you don't know who she's coming for. You don't know when she is. So I really like that storytelling.
And she's got a awesome character where she can be annoying with it and get away with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she can keep fucking with you and keep teasing with it and be a chicken shit if she needed to and run off or whatever, however she wants to play it. She could do it, and I like it. So it is officially Tiffy time in the WWE, and we'll see what happens because the success rate of these cash-ins is pretty high.
No, women have never not cashed in. Yeah. Remember, men have an 80% and women have 100% cash-in rate.
Hopefully they don't screw her and make her be the one that starts the decline. So, but yeah, amazing match. So, but go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, because I was going to get into the main event.
Well, but okay, so before the main event comes, Trish Stratus, who is our host of the show, comes out and she announces John Cena. And John Cena runs out to the ring. He comes down, and you could already tell he had this look on his face, a little bit of boo-boo face.
Well, it said the time is now on his shirt, too, so, and his rag.
The last time is now.
Yeah, and the rag he holds up.
Yeah. So I didn't notice that until he started speaking already. I wasn't really paying attention to it. Until
I already knew.
And then I saw it, and I was like, oh, shit. And then he said it. He said the R word. Talked about retirement, and I think the whole crowd just stopped, and everybody got real silent and real quiet for a second because we didn't really understand. Is he retiring right now? Like, what's happening? You know what I mean? Because that's what it felt like at first. And then he continued on, and he explained what this is going to look like and how this is going to be like the retirement tour. And now, from what we understand, it's going to be like an 18-month year-long tour, and he had said next year will be his last Royal Rumble, will be his last WrestleMania, will be his last Elimination Chamber. So that's kind of crazy, man. Like to know that the time is freaking ticking and we're gonna see the last of John Cena pretty soon, as far as like in-ring competition goes.
Yeah,
So
but over 20 years, he deserves it. And that's basically it. He's in movies and stuff. And like he said before, he can offer other things to WWE at this point, and it's time to start doing that and let these other guys carry the show. And his time is to step back and be the advisor now, as opposed to being the carrier of the company. And I agree with that 100%. And he's talked about this on podcasts because there's been the rumors ever since the solo match at, was it the Saudi show? What was it? Crown Jewel, where he put John Cena down with, I think, 11 freaking Samoan spikes right in the throat. And you hadn't seen John Cena on TV since, until when he came out here to announce his retirement. But ever since then, people have been asking, when is it coming? And he said, when the time's right.
yeah, I mean, I think we all knew something would come eventually and something would happen eventually, but to see it here now is crazy. And I think the way that they're letting him do it also speaks highly of him and his role in the company and historically for the company, Um, nobody else has really gotten to call their own shots like that, to go out on their own terms this way. So for him to be the first guy to really be able to do it like that is kind of cool, calling his shot like Babe Ruth. This is what's going to happen. So hopefully he stays healthy, and hopefully he's able to get as many dates in, and hopefully we're able to see as many feuds as we can. Speaking of
CM
which,
Punk.
Punk is a big one that people are talking about. Who else are you interested in seeing in the ring with Cena before this is all over with? Because
Cody
there's
Rhodes, dude. I want to see Cody Rhodes, but obviously, um, they would be better as a tag team because of the American Nightmare and Cena with the whole American flag and his whole respect for the military. And I
yep,
think this should be part of the storyline because I want to see Orton be the villain to John Cena. And this would be the perfect time to have Orton do the heel turn on Cody
yeah,
and
I like that.
have the tag
Oh,
team
good.
where Cody and Cena face Orton and KO, since they're a tag team basically, and it would make KO have a heel turn.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's good stuff right there. That sounds like that would be really interesting. A lot of fun right there. I know I'm anxious to see him wrestle some of the other guys too. Some guys that you haven't really seen him with before. You know what I mean? Or ever. I kind of am curious too to see who they're gonna use to be the last one. For his last match. I wonder if it's gonna be Austin Theory for some reason. I don't know why that keeps popping out to me. Because remember when Vince was still there? Vince was
It's
pushing hard to
because
have Austin Theory go over Cena at that
because
WrestleMania. And he did.
they try to compare him to be like the next Cena and to be that next level guy, and I
Yeah.
don't see him there yet. I think honestly, the guy that's there to be the next Cena, the closest, and I mean he's not even at that level, but I'm saying that the closest would probably be LA Knight.
I would love to see a Cena LA Knight a little feud before it's all said and done with. I was gonna say that before you jumped into him because I didn't expect you to say him. But yeah, that would be pretty cool. I think that would be neat. But I don't see that happening with that type of a story though. I see them having some kind of a different story, to be honest with you. Um, I hope LA Knight. I kind of feel like he's got a heel turn in him also here coming up. I think he's getting huge pops and all that kind of stuff. But the way he is on the mic, he's a kind of a smart aleck, kind of a smart ass, and I feel like he has a really monster heel turn in him, or a heel run in him, pretty shortly. And I think that'll be fun to watch. And I think that would be a nice heel to go against Cena too. That would be tight. Um,
So
I would like to see Gunther. I would like to see a Cena Gunther match. That would be badass. Um,
it would, but I'm afraid that that's the type of match because Gunther's a fucking stiff wrestler and he does the old school moves and stuff. I'm afraid if Cena did that match with Gunther, um, he might actually get hurt in his retirement. To be honest with you, you know what I mean?
I don't. That's not who I would want him to go out against. but I would like to see him in a feud, during this time, during this build up, even if it's just a match, just a one off. That'd be cool to see. Um, is there any? Do you think that there's a strong possibility of them letting him take over the record as far as championships? Because he's tied with Ric Flair right now. If he wins one more, he gets the record. You think they'll let him have that? Flair is kind of on the
Maybe,
outs right now.
maybe because they gave in this whole era, basically, you gave Roman Reigns the longest reigning heavyweight title. You gave Gunther the longest reigning intercontinental. So I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Cena the most times won, since he's the only one at that level. And it would be the opportunity to take it now to break the record, you know?
So do you see it happening? Do you think there's a
Yeah.
strong possibility of it?
But I don't think he's going to win the Cody title, dude. That one's part of the main storyline. So that's why I'm glad that they did bring the other one. And I'm not trying to diminish the other world title. I like it. I like it a lot. And I like that it's on Raw. And I love the Raw brand. It's just that's going to be more the title, I think, if Cena got it. But he said this run, and maybe it was just part of his thing to throw you off. But he said this isn't about a title run. He doesn't want titles on this last run. It's about putting other guys over and saying his goodbyes and his thank yous. And
He's been saying
so,
that for a time, and I don't doubt that at all. But I think that the crowd kind of wants that victory too, that record. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, I think Ric Flair, like I said, being the kind of guy he is and having the kind of baggage he has and all of that kind of stuff, and how he's kind of on the outs with the company almost routinely, feels to me like that would be an easier way for them to kind of get away from that, and distance themselves from Flair a little bit. So I don't know. I just feel like it's a pretty strong possibility. I think we might see that happen. But I agree with you. I would much rather see it happen with that belt, the heavyweight belt, than the WWE Universal Championship or whatever. The Cody Championship needs to stay on Cody until it goes back to Roman or whatever happens from there. I don't think that goes to Cena.
yeah.
So there's that. So now you want to get into the main event?
Yeah, because this was the first time that a wrestler came in that had such high anticipation like this and definitely delivered. The Samoan Wolverine is who I'm referring to, Jacob Fatu. Everyone was wanting to see his in-ring debut and how is he going to perform, and he didn't disappoint. But I must say that I feel the match wasn't as great as it could have been. I feel like there's a lot of disappointments in it. Maybe because I wanted the good guys to win, knowing that they weren't, obviously. I mean, that's how it was going to be. And I almost thought, though, because look, I was expecting it because I feel like the match, it needed it. And I felt that this storyline with these three in the bloodline is old. So to freshen it up, I was expecting the Randy Orton heel turn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was expecting him because just the way he's been looking at Cody during the promos and stuff, and everyone's been talking about it, like
Hmm.
he just gives him this look. And
Hmm.
some people are saying, nah, he's just looking at the title because that's how he thinks about the title. But I think he's going to go for a heel turn because thing about Randy is look at his career. When Randy has a shaved head, that's usually symbolic of his heel persona. Okay. And he's had his almost shaved head since his return. Obviously, they went the good route because you had Punk come in and all that got fudged up because of the injury. But I'm expecting it.
Okay. I didn't expect you to say that. I didn't think that was going to happen. That wasn't something that was on my bingo card. But let me start from the beginning here. You said that this didn't disappoint, this debut of Jacob Fatu. I think it did. I was disappointed with the debut. I was hyped up. I was ready for this fucking guy. They talked about how they had to pull strings to get him in the country. They talked about his past and all this shit. The Samoan Wolverine or werewolf, like you said. I'm sorry. I was ready for him, bro. And he comes in right away, does some la shit, goes around going, you know, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? And then Randy gives him the vintage Orton fucking little DDT off the ropes. And then he no-sold it. He jumped back up like a monster. Like, I get it, but bro, I was waiting for this fool to just destroy everybody. I was waiting for this fool to just do some monster ass moves to just show me that he's fucking ruthless and that he's a force. And that's not what I saw. I saw him come in. I saw him do a couple moves. I saw him tag out. I saw him get fucking Solo in. Solo would come in, do the same thing, do a couple moves, tag out. And then they would get Tama Tonga in there, and Tama Tonga got his ass whooped.
Yeah.
The whole match. And this dude, I got to be honest with you, I was more impressed with Tama Tonga than anybody else on that team. And I was impressed with Tama Tonga because he was ruthless. Like, he kept going. He was a scrappy little motherfucker, bro. Like, he kept going and was jumping on him, and he was punching like this. And, like, that was like some street fight shit, bro. Like, that's what Tama Tonga made me think of. And I was impressed with him, even though he got his ass whooped. I was very impressed with him. I thought Solo did a good job because Solo, assuming the tribal chief, assuming the head of the table, I felt like he was supposed to be like how he was, kind of a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Solo obviously isn't Roman. You know, Roman will go head to head with you. Solo is kind of a puss. I felt like they were both doing shit like a puss. Like, Solo was doing shit like a puss, and like Jacob Fatu was doing shit like a puss, bro. And I was just like, my mind was blown because I'm like, this is your opportunity. This is the one. This is the one where the bloodline is supposed to be dominant and show that nobody could fuck with them and take out all three of these baby faces. You know what I mean? And pin the champ and all of that, bro. I'm like, this is the one. And Jacob Fatu is gonna show, you know, why he's the dude, bro. But it wasn't that.
I felt that. I felt that Jacob Fatu was the one who performed the best of the bloodline. But the way I perceive them is that Jacob Fatu is like Meng. Solo is kind of like and staying within the bloodline. Solo is kind of like Yokozuna's character and their demeanor and stuff and their wrestling. And then I feel like Tama Tonga is more like Umaga.
That's Jacob Fatu reminded me of Umaga, like straight up reminded me of Umaga, but I felt like Umaga was more ruthless and he was more on it. And
that's why I feel like
don't let me like bury him completely because I'm not trying to do that either. Like, dude obviously showed he's got great athleticism, that he's got amazing facials, and he's got this presence that's crazy. Like, he looks like a crazy motherfucker.
But the relentlessness is why I say Tama Tonga.
Yeah, I get it.
The issue was with Jacob Fatu. I feel like he was like Meng. Remember Meng in WCW where he was just everyone get all freaked out and everyone was scared of Meng and how they played on that storyline because in real life, everyone even says two people in the locker room that would probably beat the hell out of anyone and most people didn't mess with. And this is real life. For Ron Simmons and Meng. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're the two people that most people never screwed with in the locker room. There's stories about it. You guys can look this up on Dark Side of the Ring, any kind of wrestling interviews, podcast. But these are two guys people did not mess with.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I agree. And like, I think that's what's cool about the Tongans is that they have that from Ming. You know, they have that toughness, obviously. You know, and that's what's cool to me. I thought the other Tongan, that Tonga Loa, man, he had another botch of the night. He couldn't do a low blow to save his life. He fucked his shit up a couple times, and that was kind of silly.
Punched his brother in the face.
Right. I thought that was kind of funny, but you know, bro, I was disappointed with the main event. Randy Orton is amazing. This dude came out fucking damn near 300 pounds. The shape of his life. He's fucking huge, Randy is. But I was like, what the fuck?
I love
I couldn't
his.
believe it. He reminds me of like, you know, when Drew left and he came back and it's like, Drew's a man now. You know what I mean? Like, Randy's a motherfucking man, bro. Like,
Yeah.
that dude, bro, like, he's in a class all to his own. Randy, when it's all said and done, Randy will go down as the greatest
One of
of
the
all.
greats.
You
Yeah.
know, I really believe that. And I have believed that for a long time.
He's
Randy's
going to be in the top 5. That's
Mhm.
for sure. By the end of all of it, he'll be in the top 5 at least.
Yeah.
Um,
So, you know, I'm big fans of him. I'm big fans of KO. Obviously, I'm a Cody dude too. So I knew it was going to be a good match on as far as those guys go.
yeah.
But the bloodline is who we were waiting to see. You know,
Yeah.
that's who we're waiting to see be dominant. And I don't think they were as dominant as they could have been and should have been.
I
So
agree with that. They weren't as dominant as they should have been. But like I said, I felt like Jacob Fatu delivered because look, like you said, Toma Tonga was getting his ass whipped the whole match. And so when Jacob Fatu would come in, he would clean house. And then Solo would basically come in as like the boss, like, oh yeah, I did that. And then he would just mess him up a little bit. Then he'd tag out as soon as he'd start getting punked. And then Jacob Fatu would clean it up again, help him set up for the next move and all of that, right? They played their roles well.
uh, I
But
just
it
felt like they all looked a little green still. You know what I mean? Like they all still needed some time. Yeah, I
got
agree.
to do the rain for this match, honestly, because it could have been better.
Yep.
And no offense to the wrestlers, but it could have been better. And for the main event, man, how did the women just freaking blow everyone else out of the water in the whole night? And that wasn't the main event.
And to be honest with you, like it was a pretty good show from front to back. Like
Yeah.
and I think that even speaks even that much more highly of the women's match because they didn't have like a bullshit card that they were the best match on. They were the best match on a pretty fucking stacked good card, bro. You know what I mean? So that goes to show you how dope that was. Let's go ahead and move on real quick from this. We're already coming up on an hour here, so I want to make
Yeah.
sure we get into this Forbidden Door. You want to just for a second quickly go ahead and tie up what happened with Raw and what we're expecting now and what we're looking at next week.
So I touched on some of the things, the most relevant things, with Rollins, Punk, I didn't really touch on those two talking, but they had their thing, which was after the Damian Priest gave him his rematch, so that settled that. The one thing I didn't talk about that I do want to, because the Sheamus, Bronson Reed, and all that stuff, whatever. I talked about Zayn and uh, Braun Breaker, but the one I want to really talk about is Chad Gable and the Wyatt Six, because Chad Gable was facing Jey Uso, and Jey Uso's been having the lights. Everyone's doing the fireflies for Jey Uso, and Chad Gable even accused him of stealing the fireflies from Bray Wyatt. So the Wyatt Six are after you. Well, Jey Uso spears him when the lights go out, and he gets the 1, 2, 3, and he runs out. And Chad gets up and the fog's already coming in the ring and it's playing the freaking Sister Abigail song or the piano song or Bray or the Wyatts or whatever you want to call it, but it's playing the ding 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 the piano. And obviously what's her face, Nikki Cross, comes out and she hands Pat McAfee the box again, and it's another video. But in this video, it's the final video of a two-part video that they showed the week before of Bo Dallas talking with the Uncle Howdy character, which is really cool because it sums up his whole in real life emotions as a brother and having lost his brother, and then how he's dealing with that psychologically and tying this into this character and the storyline is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's dope, man. I'm anxious to see what happens next. I'm curious to see when we actually see any of the Wyatts in ring. I wonder if the first time we see them is as a group or if we're gonna see somebody just by themselves. I'm
Yeah.
curious to see all of it. There's so many questions, So it's a good time to be a wrestling fan because there's a lot of cool shit. So there was also a return, right? Wasn't there a pretty big
Rhea
return?
Ripley.
So Rhea came back right in the middle of a Liv and Dom segment and had Dom hightailing it out of there, pleading for dear life, right?
Yeah, and they faced Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega. So still that LWO storyline going on. So it was dope to see Rhea Ripley return. She's sick. Can't wait for her to get back her title from Liv. And I can't wait to see how this Dominic story is going to play out. You know, I honestly think it's going to end up with the Judgment Day being fractured. And I think Balor is going to bring back the Bullet Club. I want to mention this because look, you got Machine Gun Anderson, you got freaking Luke Gallows, you got Toma Tonga, you got Tonga Loa, you got Finn Balor, you have AJ Styles, and Cody Rhodes. The only people you're missing are the Elite from AEW, and I want to touch on this at the end because obviously we're going to get into AEW next. But so you're just missing Kenny Omega, you're missing, well, I mean, I guess the Golden Lovers, and you're missing the Young Bucks, and is Adam Page part of it? I don't remember if he was at the end. He might have been because they were a pretty big group. Maybe. But sick. It would be dope if Finn Balor brought back the Bullet Club because he is the founder of it, and they really haven't been doing shit with him. And now that he's the tag team champion with his homie JD McDonough, I think that it's time for the Judgment Day to break up and Finn Balor to become someone again.
I think that's part of what's going to happen. I think the Judgment Day is going to eventually kind of split as far as the members that we have right now. But I don't think it's going to be quite all that. I do feel like Finn might take over. You know how it was kind of like Damien and Rhea were like the leaders. I feel like it would be more like a Finn and Rhea thing that they were co-leaders again, because I don't think Rhea really needs it anymore, but I think that they're better with her. You know what I mean? I feel like they're stronger with her. So I'm hoping she stays. I'm hoping Damien goes. I think Dom might need to go also. I think he's ready to kind of do his own thing now. But I think the rest of it stays. But I really like that idea that you're talking about, excuse me, with the Bullet Club, because, man, they do have just about everybody they need right there. So I'm wondering if they are ever going to pull the trigger on something like that.
So the last thing I want to say on it, because I know we're going to get into the other one, is that I'm speaking like a year or two down the line, because a Cody Rhodes heel turn, which would be the perfect moment for the Bullet Club to come in to WWE, would be the heel turn of Cody Rhodes. You know, I think that it's time to keep enjoying him as the good guy, but inevitably, I think it's coming. And if it did, this would be the best time to do it, is with the Bullet Club.
Wow, that's some good stuff, man. We're gonna have to make a note of that and come back to it and see how it actually happens. That'd be kind of fun. Well, let's get into it now. We're already over an hour, so obviously neither one of us had actually watched this one. We both saw Money in the Bank, but neither one of us saw Forbidden Doors. So let's go ahead and just get into some of the highlights real quick. We don't really need to get into the whole thing. Neither one of us are really following AEW as well as we would like to, but at the same time, they're not really giving us a whole lot of reason to either, right? You know, yeah. So we're doing our best. It was funny because the WWE pay-per-view had, 5 matches? Something like that. This one, including their dark matches, there's 15. 15 freaking matches. So that's quite a bit.
I don't know if we should get into the dark matches per se.
No, I'm skipping right through those. Although they are some pretty decent matchups, it looks like.
That I don't know exactly what happened. I think she won a title that night, but Mercedes Moné, I've seen some rumors that people are saying how she's got Tony Khan under a barrel and how she screwed him over and all this stuff. I don't know exactly. It has to do with this match. So I didn't watch the match. So
well, she did win She won the New Japan Strong Women's Championship from Stephanie Vaquer. Vaquer, I don't know how you say her last name. Who just recently was announced got signed to WWE, and there's a big old to do about that because apparently she's from CMLL and New Japan, and she had let them both know she was leaning towards WWE because AEW and WWE were both trying to get her. And she, I guess, said that she was leaning towards WWE, but I don't think she told them that she was going to sign or had signed. So Shawn Michaels actually broke the news. He tweeted it out or whatever, said "Welcome to the family" or to the team or whatever. And there's a bit of controversy about it all right now about the way it was handled. So that's one of the first times we heard of something like this with this whole new regime about them handling some talent stuff like this. So hopefully it was just a freak occurrence, and maybe there was just a slight miscommunication on somebody's side because this new regime seems to be handling things pretty well. So I think they would try to stay away from dirty business practices like this. So anyway, that's who she took it from. I like Sasha when she was in WWE, but since she bounced and this whole Mercedes Moné character, I'm just not sold, bro. I feel like she's kind of overhyped. I feel like I'm just not, I'm not seeing a whole lot that interests me. Her character to me is kind of lame, so I don't really know. These rumors that you were talking about with her kind of having Tony on the dangle. I don't know anything about that, but to be honest with you, it's not that far fetched either for me to believe that. So
Yep. Hell yeah. I don't know, man. Like I'm not really freaking big on her either. I liked her in WWE, like you said, but I feel like all that is because she had Bailey and all of that.
yeah, she had all the other horsewomen with her to have classic matches and that camaraderie that they shared. So I don't know. I'm just not there yet with her here. So hopefully she keeps building, and like for her to have two titles right off the bat and like all this kind of shit, I don't know, just kind of lame to me. I like to see the chase more than just shit being handed to people. So there was that match. There was the Elite versus the Acclaimed in a trios match. I think the Elite won. They went over. Big surprise. Brian Danielson goes over to Tagagi to win the first. It doesn't say he won it here, but he did end up eventually winning the Owen Hart Men's Cup tournament or whatever. Brian Danielson. Um, it says Tony Storm defeated Mina Shirakawa for the AEW World Championship. Mariah May has since turned on Tony Storm. I saw just this week, I think, on AEW TV. So there's that feud that's taking place. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Orange Cassidy in a singles match. I'm anxious to see some Zack Sabre Jr. stuff. I saw some older stuff before where he seemed pretty awesome. So anxious to see some more of him on American TV. Hopefully we get him in WWE at some point because I feel like that's where he'll shine the best. Um, there's a trios match of Samoa Joe Hook and Shibata defeating the Learning Tree of Chris Jericho and Big Bill with Jeff Cobb.
Heard
That
about
sounds
that.
like that might have been pretty cool. I really like
Yeah.
how Jericho just keeps reinventing himself all the time and stays relevant. He's another one that's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time when he decides to hang it up because nobody's had the career that Jericho has had. Um,
I don't know because he had allegations come against him just like Vince McMahon, but at the same time, what I've heard people say is that he did the smart thing, just completely ignored that it happened, that the allegations were out there instead of acknowledging it, addressing it, or saying anything about it. And his career began to rise. Whereas Vince, look what happened to him,
yeah.
you know?
I don't think that his allegations are nearly on the scale that Vince's are on. I think his seemed to be somewhat of an isolated incident with one particular person. So we'll see if that's the case or not. I'm sure time will tell. What's ever done in light. I mean, what's ever done in dark comes to light eventually. So we'll see. I like Jericho, man. I think he seems to be a good dude. You know, I really like the avenues he's taken his career into, as far as podcasting, music, even his cruises, the different ideas he's done with his podcast network and different TV shows that he's tried to involve himself in, and writing books. Like Jericho, man, to me is one of the top of the top as far as careers have gone in professional wrestling. So I think he's going to go down as one of the greats, at least as far as my estimation goes. But after that, there was a ladder match for the vacant AEW TNT Championship, and it was Jack Perry going over Takeshita, Mark Briscoe, Dante Martin, Leo Rush, and El Fantasmo. Jack Perry, they're pushing him pretty hard after this whole Punk stuff goes, you know. So for him to have the TNT Championship, I'm sure it's right on par for what they're trying to do.
I feel like they missed the mark on that one, honestly. Like
They probably
to have
did.
him suspended during that whole time. To be honest, I mean, and I'm a Punk guy. That's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So during that whole scenario, they should have just freaking let him wrestle, built up that storyline, and he would have been over at this point. And AEW might be stealing viewers from WWE at this point had they done that, but they waited way too long that it just wasn't the same. And I don't feel that it's recovered the same.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I think that would have been a better way to go. Just quickly wrapping it up here. After the ladder match, Jack Perry goes over, was the AEW. I'm sorry, was the women's match for the New Japan Women's Strong Championship. Mercedes Moné goes over Stephanie Vakir. Then after that, for the World Heavyweight, IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, Naito beats Moxley, and Moxley was the champ, so he drops the belt to Naito. So there you go. Now it's back in New Japan, so that's kind of cool. And then the main event, we see Swerve Strickland retain over Will Ospreay. And man, that would be a killer match to see. I want to see that one.
Dope, man. He's a dope wrestler. I like him.
I like
I
him.
don't think.
You
I
know,
was just gonna say I don't feel he gets all the credit that he deserves as a wrestler, and he didn't in WWE as much. Yet people respected him; they liked him best out of the group he was in WWE. But he's definitely stepped into his character in AEW.
Yep, I agree, man. And I didn't get to see a whole lot of him in WWE. I don't get to see a lot of him in AEW, but the stuff I have seen, just really, really is intriguing to me. And I think it's cool too, because I heard him on a podcast. I think it might have been a Chris Van Vliet show, and he talks about like the evolution of his character and what he pulls from. And he pulls a lot from Simon Phoenix, which is a character from Demolition Man, and that's one of my favorite movies. That Wesley Snipes character there, I really like that. And when he said that, it just made my respect for him go up a little bit more, because that's one of my favorite heels in a movie too, you know, is the Simon Phoenix character. So that was pretty cool to me. So Swerve, good shit, my brother. Will Ospreay, another amazing fucking talent. I can't wait to see what happens next with these dudes. I'm not really on point to tell you what's going on in any feuds or storylines going forward right now, because like I said, we're not really AEW competent right now. We're kind of behind a little bit with them, for good reason though. You know, you gotta suck us in. You gotta get us to want to watch. So we'll see. You know, we'll see what happens. As far as our wrestling show goes, this has kind of been our monthly breakdown for the end of June, early July. We do have some stuff coming up, and hopefully we're able to do this more than just monthly. You know, because there's so much stuff that happens. We missed a lot. And you know, it would have been nice to talk about some of the other stuff while it was still timely, you know. So we might be doing this weekly. We might be doing shorter episodes, smaller things. Might even do some shorts. I'm not sure, but we're gonna figure it out. So stay posted, stay with us, keep watching wrestling, and let us know what you guys are thinking. Any of our friends or our followers or listeners that are wrestling fans, please leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what you think about some of these storylines or what's going to happen next. What you're feeling, what you're not feeling. Grim, you got anything else you want to tell the people before we be out?
Yeah, this would be well, keep your eyes posted. We're probably going to release a part A and a part B of what's that called? Me and Joe, also known as Soul from the Drobro Show. But I
Okay.
also wanted to say this is Rich and Delane tagging out.
Tagging out. Thank y'all for listening. This has been the Hot Tag. We'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.